Hi there. In this video, we're going to learn about safety, and we're going to learn about how to prioritize and to focus on what's important. We're going to start off with a story that during the Yom Kippur War in Israel, they realized that their airplanes are not effective. They're not up to the technology that's necessary. They sent an engineer by the name of Rappaport, to America, to Washington, to buy the latest plane, the McDonnell Douglas F-15. And this airplane was created by a fellow called Colonel John Boyd. And he recognized that the way to win in combat is by speeding your ability to decide and to slow the adversary's ability to decide. You could do either or. Either you can speed yourself up or you can slow the adversary. And what he would do is he would tell his students that he's going to meet them in the sky, and within 2 minutes they're going to be in his guns. And what he used to do is he used to dance, confuse the other pilot, and within a short time he was behind them, right behind them. And the Marines recognized that this idea applies to even a regular combat. And in fact, this idea applies to keeping oneself, even a child can keep themselves safe in the street, because a person that is planning to do something not good to them, if the child does something unexpected that the bad person does not expect, then it will take them approximately 8 seconds to replan, and in that time the child can already leave from the area, or the bad person will abort their plan. But hanging around is not a good strategy. To be quick and to do unexpected things, to move across the street or to turn around in an unexpected way, is going to give new information into the mind of the adversary, into the bad person, the criminal, the potential criminal, and hopefully they will abort. Now, Colonel John Boyd has a lecture on YouTube, which he explains this really 6 levels of combat, if I remember correctly. The first level is tactics. Tactics in Lashon HaKodesh would be dikduk, tactic, dikduk. And combat is like the word ba'et in Hebrew, which means like to kick, like a bat, like to. And the thing about tactics is there's an impact immediately. It has an immediate impact. And the way to prevail in tactics is to, like it says in Dvarim, chapter Chaf Aleph, Pasuk Yud, when you go out to war, al oivecha, on your enemies. Al is the key over here. Positioning, controlling the higher ground. Position is like the word poi. Poi means here. And if a person positions themselves in a position of advantage, they are on the hill, like a lot of the Yiddish settlements in Yehuda and Shomron are on hills. That is in order to have a higher tactical positioning, to control a roof of a house if the house is under siege, and on the street, to keep the hands higher, to keep the hands higher than the potential adversary. That is kitetzel milchama. When you go out onto war and you have a superior position, then hopefully you won't need to have combat. Another strategy in tactics is that we have 3-to-1 positioning. We have 3 people against 1, and definitely not lining oneself up that's 3 against, not to be in a situation where you have more than 1, a disparity of number or disparity of force. And another thing is vision, seeing, like night vision, and positioning in the sun in the eyes of the adversary, to basically have superior visioning is tactics. And communication. And the reason why communication is important, because it helps a person to make decisions faster than the adversary. Then there's tactics, which is immediate. Grand tactics is also immediate, but it is sometimes there is a number of moving parts, and the point of all of them is to come out on top. And then there is strategy. Now, strategy is not immediate. Strategy and grand strategy, it's like strategy if you turn the ST around and it becomes TS, it's like tsaros. And that's literally how the word tsaros is, tsarot, are used. In other words, it's not something that's tactically imminent. It's not going to be immediate, but it's very difficult. It's a very difficult thing that's going on. It's not immediate, and it's about winning the battle or the war, because the other person has a loss of will to fight, because their resources are used up. Loss is like the word chalash, because they feel chalash, they have chalashes, they feel weak. Of the will is in Hebrew will be val. If you read that backwards, it'll be lev, heart. So the loss of heart to fight is paga, to be paged, to be chalash, to become weak of the lev of heart, to want to be pageya, because source is shoresh. Person's shorish, the person's resources are being used up, either time, money, or manpower, and this is ultimately how to win a war. The U.S. in Vietnam, they won tactically. They won every single time. However, strategically, they had a loss of will to fight, because all the Vietnamese needed to do is to survive. And if they survive for long enough and use up enough resources of the Americans, they lose the will to fight, because it's not worth it for them in terms of resources of manpower and finances. Then a higher way of fighting, the fifth level of fighting, is psychological, psychological, and it's about impacting the minds of the adversary in order that they should have a loss of will to fight, or you can control the mind of the people through their seichel, through their mind. And nowadays, this is usually through the media. And in order to protect one's mind from the media, one way that I was taught is to only read headlines, and to ask oneself the question, what emotion is this generating? Is this manufacturing outrage? And how much money does it cost to create these articles or these this media? Because if there is a financial incentive, it is likely that there is psychological warfare going on, psychological warfare going on against somebody's mind, against your mind. And it's probably better not to read the article, just the headline, and ask this question: is it manufacturing an emotion, or is it just bringing down facts? And the truth is, if a person's not a content expert in a certain area, then it's unlikely that they'll be able to put in the time to make a proper investigation, to study the subject, to know the difference between what is true and what is not true. If a person had time to make a proper investigation, then they would probably find out what's true or not true. But however, this may be using up their resources, and maybe they should be spending their time on something else. So in the end, when it comes to psychological warfare, a person sometimes needs to make a quick decision, a quick investigation, but they have the humility to understand that they may not properly understand, because they're not an expert. They haven't put in the time, the thousands of hours necessary sometimes to study a certain subject. So they can ask other people. They can ask two witnesses that have studied the subject separately, or three witnesses, and ask for their opinion and see if they match. And that way, even if a person's not a content expert, they will start to recognize what is true, what isn't true, because something that's true, it's probably going to be coming up again and again, and the witnesses will start matching to some extent, especially if both witnesses are not connected to each other in any way, or financially not connected, or they don't have a financial interest. Now, there may be an interest from an adversary to send a agent provocateur and agent saboteur. I'm going to explain that in a moment. So first we're going to go to the highest level of warfare, and that is morality. And morality is based on the pasuk in Tehillim that King David says in chapter 55, verse 19, Pada v'shalom nafshi mikravli ki berabim hayumali. I was redeemed in peace. My soul was redeemed in peace from inside me, but actually from a close combat, because rabim hayumali, because a lot of people are with me, are supporting me. Now, in English, rabim, the word rabim is actually rav, and if we read that word backwards, it's br. All the br words in English usually represent something big, a breed, something powerful, strength, brick, break, breathe. It represents some sort of strength, like the word in Lashon HaKodesh, rav. So when there is a majority, a lot of people support me, then hopefully combat is avoided. And this was really the strategy of World War II. They did have combat, but the Americans understood that the people don't like the morality of the Nazis, and they prefer not to live underneath them. So therefore, the public, the people living in France, are going to support the troops from the Allies, and because they are winning the war of morality, it is therefore likely that they're going to actually win the combat quite quickly. Another reason the Americans knew that they're going to win World War II is because they had resources. They were able to outproduce. So eventually it will take a few years, but they're going to be able to outproduce the Nazis, and they're going to win the war. But morality, the war of morality, was very important. And the USA is various nationalities that come together with principles, that they have values and principles that align with each other, like the Declaration of Independence and the US Constitution. This is a war of morality. Now, a chassid, what is the mindset of a chassid? And out of all these various levels, the priority would make sense to focus, and what will be important is to focus and to have an area of operations in the war of morality, which ultimately is a war of peace. And a chassid promotes halacha, the Torah law, together with the pnimis HaTorah as it's illuminated by the inner Torah, the warmth of the inner Torah. And that is the mindset of the chassid. And also in promoting laws of the government that don't transgress the Torah. As long as the Torah law comes from Hashem, and laws of the government which don't transgress the Torah. So what can happen sometimes? Why does a chassid need to understand the other levels? And one of the reasons is because there's a thing called an agent provocateur and an agent saboteur. And what an agent provocateur does is they infiltrate the community and they provoke the wonderful people that are that are promoting morality, and they provoke them to break a law in such a way that they're going to be able to manufacture outrage, that the majority of the people will now go against this group of people because they manufactured outrage, because they provoked someone to do something which may have broken a law. That is an agent provocateur. And an agent saboteur, it's called in Torah, it's called a mesis or madiach. And if they succeed to provoke a lot of people, then those people wouldn't be good. But if they succeed in provoking only a minority, so the whole group is not a bad group. It's just we have a criminal that was provoked in the group. It doesn't mean that entire group is not good. And then there is the agent saboteur. A saboteur, I understand, comes from the word shabsai, saboteur, shabsai tzvi, whose goal is to make a mitzvah into an avera into a mitzvah. Like it's a mitzvah to see one's Rebbe, and they're going to say they're going to say that's an avera, that's avodah zarah. And what is avodah zarah? Taivas and gaiva and kas. They're going to say, oh, it's a mitzvah to have outrage. It's a mitzvah to have outrage, which really that is like avodah zarah. So an agent saboteur wants to take up a person's time and resources in order that they shouldn't be focused on their mission of morality. It's not even it's a war, but it's not a combat, because it's peaceful. It's about behaving in a moral way according to the halacha, according to Pnimius HaTorah, according to halacha as it's illuminated with the warmth of Pnimius HaTorah, that more people would voluntarily want to support this and want to go in that good way.